Capped here. Today I will clarify an Italian dream hero film called The Invisible Boy. Spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and fare thee well. Toward the start of the film, we see a kid named Michele Silenzi cycling to his school in Trieste, Italy. He has a €50 note with which he intends to purchase an ensemble for a party. At school, he sits behind his long-lasting crush, Stella. Their class is hindered by a cop named Giovanna, who likewise turns out to be Michele's mom. She is there to ask about an understudy's vanishing. Giovanna demands the class to illuminate the police, assuming they hear from the missing understudy. After she leaves, Michele's nose begins to drain, so he rushes to the restroom. His harassers, who have been alarming him for quite a while, compromise him into giving them all his cash. He returns home, dampened by the occurrence. He draws out a couple of pennies he had saved and chooses to get one with the cash. Michele then, at that point, visits a corroded-looking store and requests a hero outfit. The businessperson gives him a skin-tight, generally speaking, and a crummy cape. He asserts that it is the suit of a Chinese superhuman. Michele doesn't appear to be attached to the outfit, yet gets it at any rate. At the point when Giovanna gets back after working all day, she sees Michele in his outfit, declining to go to the party since he thinks he looks idiotic. She consoles him that he looks great and sends him to the party. There, Michele has a good time and even discussions to his crush Stella. However, at that point, his harassers play a video of Stella strolling through the road. They guarantee that the video was found on Michele's telephone and that he has been following Stella. A humiliated Michele rushes to the washroom. Furthermore, secures himself. Each of his schoolmates beat on the entryway from outside, requesting that he open it. Michele is disappointed and wishes that he was undetectable just before the lights go out. In the accompanying scene, we see him leap out of the washroom window and return home. The following morning, Michele awakens to his canine yapping at him. He doesn't give him much consideration and goes to the washroom to clean his teeth. At the point when he investigates the mirror, Michele is past stunned to see simply his robe and the brush. His body is imperceptible in the mirror. Michele surges out and takes his robe off. All of a sudden, his mom strolls in and totally overlooks the kid, demonstrating that, as it were, Michele can see himself. At the point when she begins glancing around, Michele rapidly composes that he has gone to class from the beginning, a paper, and places it on the bed. Giovanna understands it and excuses the matter. In the wake of leaving the room, she calls Michele on his telephone. An imperceptible Michele gets it and tells her that he is fine. Befuddled with regards to what he ought to do straight away, he spruces up in long-sleeved garments. Subsequent to covering all aspects of his body, he goes to class and watches Stella from far off. Michele then, at that point, sees his harasser and plans to show him something new for disturbing him to such an extent. He takes his garments off and strolls inside the school, bare and imperceptible. During class, he gets the harasser's paintball firearm and utilizations it on the educator, causing the instructor to suspend the domineering jerk. Then, at that point, Michele advances toward the young ladies' changing room and watches them strip down. Unexpectedly, a towel lands on him, making his outline obvious to everybody. Right then, at that point, his powers begin to blur, making him noticeable once more. The young ladies shout as they see an exposed Michele under the towel. The following day, Michele is in his group, where a clinician named Vasily is giving a talk about youngsters' emotional wellness. Two of Michele's schoolmates have fled from home in the previous month, so he thinks it is important to comprehend adolescents' perspective. As Michele pays attention to the talk, his hands begin to shine, and unexpectedly, they vanish. Fortunately, the class is finished, and he runs out before anybody can see him vanish. He surges home, covering all pieces of his body, and sees his younger sibling Candela in his room. Michele requests that she go down the stairs while confronting the divider. A dubious Candela opens and shuts the way to cause it to seem like she has left. Michele doesn't buy but to check and begins to take his garments off. At the point when he pivots, Candela shouts in dread, seeing her sibling is undetectable. Michele quiets her down and tells her that his ensemble has given him superpowers. In the meantime, at the police headquarters, the specialist Vasily works with Giovanna to explore the missing kids. Giovanna demands that the youngsters may be grabbed, however Vasily contends they are simply being defiant, which is typical for their age. At the point when Giovanna gets back, Michele is as yet undetectable. Giovanna converses with somebody on the telephone, uncovering that Michele is taken on. An astounded and hurt Michele leaves the house to a close-by swing. While he is swinging, Stella shows up there and thinks Michele is an apparition. She doesn't appear to be frightened and rather requests that he be her companion. He makes a grinning face on the sand to speak with her. The two choose to meet once more. After Stella leaves, Michele sees a man close by gazing at him. In spite of the fact that he is imperceptible, the man leaves utilizing a stick, uncovering that he is visually impaired. Around evening time, Michele visits Stella's home. Stella is charmed to have made an undetectable companion. The two kiss, however, right then. At that point, Michele's powers begin to blur. He flees before Stella can see his face. Afterward, Stella is in her gymnastic class alone when a needle strikes her back. It makes her drop oblivious. Somewhere else, Michele has chosen to enlighten Stella regarding him being the imperceptible kid. He advances toward her gymnastic class with his canine. At the point when he arrives at the structure, he sees a veiled man conveying Stella. Michele assaults the man and the canine chomps his hand. Nonetheless, the man figures out how to escape with the young lady. Afterward, the police show up at the scene. They figure that the missing kids weren't fleeing yet have been captured. Stella awakens in a weird office with her head connected to a few wires. The therapist Vasily is there examining her. Incidentally, he is the person who has been capturing the kids. They run a few tests on the young lady. Also send her to a cell. Two of her companions who had disappeared before her are there as well. The next day, Michele is distant from everyone else at a close-by oceanside when unexpectedly, the visually impaired man from the earlier day shows up before him. The man responds to each of Michele's enquiries before he can ask them. Maybe he can understand minds. At the point when Michele asks him what his identity is, the man uncovers that he is Andrzej and he is Michele's dad. The kid doesn't trust Andrzej and blames him for lying. Andrzej then, at that point, starts to tell his story. He used to be a typical man from a modest community in Russia until a staggering atomic blast hit the town. The radiation killed many individuals. What's more, rolled out an extremely durable improvement in others. It made their DNA transform, giving them extraordinary godlike capacities like flying, clairvoyance, being imperceptible, etc. These individuals were called the Specials and were brought to a tactical camp called the Division to be utilized as weapons. The Division utilized them past their ability. The more power the Specials utilized, the more fragile they got. Another after effect was that everybody was barren, aside from Andrzej and Michele's mom. Along these lines, reproducing new Specials was unthinkable. The two brought forth Michele, who was the principal unique child. Be that as it may, when he was conceived, they removed him. Thus, the Guardians chose to flee with Michele and were effective. Yet, individuals from the Division weren't going to withdraw. They sought after the couple to bring the youngster back. Michele's dad had the ability to guess individuals' thoughts, while his mom had the ability to be undetectable. Andrzej figured out how to flee with Michele, yet his better half was killed by the Division. Andrzej realized Michele wasn't protected with him, so he put him before Giovanna's entryway subsequent to guessing what she might be thinking and affirming she was a decent individual. Presently, individuals of the Division have discovered that the unique child lives in the town, so they are abducting youngsters and testing them to check whether they are unique. In the wake of paying attention to his actual beginning, Michele is stunned. He nearly doesn't trust it, yet Andrzej says that they do not have a lot of opportunity to talk on the grounds that the angler adjacent to them thinks Andrzej is dubious and has called the police. Andrzej hands Michele a suit that turns undetectable alongside his body. He then, at that point, eliminates the angler's memory and leaves. The police show up in the blink of an eye alongside Vasily. Giovanna uncovers to him that Michele is embraced, which causes Vasily to accept that he may be the exceptional child. He offers to take Michele home. At the point when they arrive at home, Michele sees Vasily's hand injury, which is at the specific spot his canine had nibbled Stella's criminal. He takes a gander at the man dubiously and has a go at fleeing. Incidentally, Vasily has locked every one of the entryways and is intending to kidnap him. Michele runs into a room and removes his garments. Turning imperceptible, he figures out how to escape while Vasily follows him. At the point when they are in the city, Michele sees his harasser Ivan on his bicycle. He sits behind him and requests that he drive away rapidly. An anxious Ivan obliges. At the point when they arrive at a protected region, Michele uncovers himself to Ivan and fills him in regarding their cohort's kidnapping. In the interim, Stella and her companions see ventilation on the roof. They jump on one another and Stella figures out how to venture outside, while stowing away from watchers, she climbs a pinnacle and arrives at a looking-through light. Accepting that her imperceptible companion is searching for her, she makes a grinning face on the light and glimmers it up to the sky. Michele sees the grinning face and understands that Stella is attempting to allude to them. He and Ivan follow the light, however when they arrive, breaks down utilizing his paintball weapon as an undetectable Michele heads inside. He sees Vasily and his men observing Giovanna and Andrzej, who have held hands to search for Michele. He then, at that point, goes further in and takes out a watchman. Utilizing his firearm, he undermines the other gatekeeper to open the cell where Stella and the others are caught. Subsequent to getting them out and catching the watchman inside, Michele uncovers himself to his companions, who are past astonished. The young men need to flee, yet Stella demands they save an elderly person who she had seen secured another room. She and Michele go to save the man, however Stella takes him to the lowlifers all things considered and focuses a weapon at Michele. She unexpectedly falls oblivious. Furthermore, the elderly person behind her beginning stalking. It just so happens, he has the force of psyche control. He has been controlling Vasily and Stella to get Michele here. He then, at that point, cuts down a submarine and places Michele and Stella in it. The men bring the two into the ocean. All at once, Andrzej and Giovanna show up at the spot and meet Ivan. The structure has been set to detonate shortly. They rapidly save the two stole children and Vasily from inside. Andreji guesses what Vasily might be thinking and understands that somebody was controlling him. They rapidly get away from the structure, which detonates in pieces just later. Back in the submarine, Michele finds his supernatural power and starts destroying the spot, utilizing his powers. He figures out how to kill the men and save himself and Stella. They at last return to the shore, where many individuals are sitting tight for them. Michele goes imperceptible before them, displaying his power. Andreji lets Michael know that they should eliminate everybody's recollections on the grounds that the division will come searching for them once more. Michele obliges and kisses Stella once and for all. Andreji tells Michele he will be back and leaves subsequent to deleting everybody's recollections. Everybody then, at that point, gets back to their typical life. The scene slices to some place in Russia. Michele's mom, who was believed to be dead, was just injured in the experience. She had crushed the division in those days and is currently managing it. Indeed, she was the person who sent those individuals to return Michele once again to her. The lady is presently against all the ordinary individuals who view at them as though they are monstrosities. Finally, a watchman illuminates her that in spite of the fact that they lost Michele, they have tracked down his twin sister Natasha. A clasp of the past shows us that Andreji fled with 2 kids that day. The film closes as the gatekeeper tells Michele's mom that Natasha is someplace in Morocco, implying towards a sequel. Subscribe for additional recordings like this, turn on notices, and pass on a like to take care of the channel. Much obliged to you for observing.